Awesome. With that, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. So, hi everybody, welcome to this third live on behalf of EO New Delhi, and we're doing this live for GSEA, which is Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards. On this live, we host industry leaders, startup mentors, successful entrepreneurs, angel investors, and prominent industry leaders and business people. If you don't know about EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, is a global not non-for-profit organization, and it's a high quality support network of 14,000 plus like-minded business leaders from 61 countries. Every year EO conducts Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards, which is a premier global competition for students who own and operate a business while studying in college and university. So GSEA supports student entrepreneurs with mentorship, recognition, and connection to take their business to the next level. I'm your host Dilnawaz Khan. I am the founder of a company called Power Deck, and I have got an amazing panel lined up for you today. We have Chandni Aggarwal from Little Tags Luxury. We have Vandana from RV Solutions Private Limited. We have Divya from Seco, and we have Sonali from Playful Minds. Put your hands together to welcome the panel on the stage. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this panel discussion on role of women entrepreneurs in growing economy. You can unmute yourself and say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi
Hello, everyone.
guys. Hi guys.
Awesome. So, first of all, thank you for joining on this conversation. I'm sure it will be super fun to have a chat with rock star women entrepreneurs, and I think this panel will not only enlighten a lot of people on nuances of entrepreneurship. I'm sure we'll be discussing your journey as well, but most importantly inspire a lot of young women entrepreneurs to come and choose and become an entrepreneur. So thank you so much. What I'll do is I'll quickly go around the panel, and I want you to introduce yourself, quickly talk about what you do, what your business does, what your company does, and also maybe give a one liner brief about where do you come from, what do you do, and maybe an interesting fact about yourself. I just want to keep it very casual. So we'll start with Vandana and then we can go in the order. So Vandana, I'll pass the mic to you.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Vandana, and I run a company, RV Solutions Private Limited, which is into a technology, which we provide technology services to software to government for software development, and we provide telecom services, which are more on the telco side. We do system integration, and then we do after sales services for mobile handsets and consumer electronics. So this is like four businesses into one. About me, I'm born in a middle class family. I did my schooling in small towns in Haryana, in different towns, and then I did my engineering from Kurukshetra. After few failed stints in business, I finally decided to take up a job, but the bug did bite me again, and I started this company with someone else. There was another co-founder in 2008. We started in 2009 these operations, and there have been, of course, ups and downs. I can share more light on that later. And today, we are a debt-free company running on our own for the last 14 years now. We crossed 100 CR day last year, and yeah, going great. We are pan India present, and more than 500 people there.
Awesome, thanks. Chandni, I want to come next to you.
Hi, my name is Chandni, and I'm the founder of Little Tags Luxury as well as Little Tags. I've done my schooling from Modern School, Delhi. After that, I did my BCom honors from Delhi University, Jesus and Mary College. Then I've done my MBA from MBA in Marketing and Finance. I got married very early, and after that, I was looking after schools, which was owned by the family business. Then, when I had my first child, which was back in 2016, immediately after that, I saw there was some gap in the market. Like everything I needed for my daughter, I would have to call from somewhere abroad. Like that premium market was missing. The massy market was all there, but the premium segment was missing. That's where I saw a gap in the market, and that's how we launched Little Tags and Little Tags Luxury. So my daughter was 6 months when I launched this, and it's been almost 5 years now.
Awesome. I'm sure each one of you will be bringing a lot of inspirational stories today. So I'm looking forward to listening to all of those as we go deep into the conversation. Devi, I want to come next to you. Go ahead and maybe quickly, if you can talk about yourself, who you are, what you do, and maybe what your company does. I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you so much, Dilnawaz. It's fabulous. Thank you for calling me for this panel. It's a topic I feel very passionately about, and you probably hear a lot more. So thank you for talking, Vandana. Great to hear about you. I can't get into more details about your struggles, and Chandni. I've used little tags, so thank you so much. It's my one go-to space for my daughter. Hi guys, congratulations for considering entrepreneurship and for being a part of the GSEA. That's a great first step. I am the co-founder of an online platform, of an edtech platform. It's called Seco. We're an upskilling platform, and what we're really trying to do is use data and technology to upskill the youth and match them with the right jobs. So we work directly with consumers. We also work with colleges. At this point, we have about 2.5 lakh students who are on platform, and we've got about 30,000 of them jobs in high-paying corporates. We are a funded startup, and we did get funding from Sequoia's Surge Fund during COVID. I've had an interesting story in terms of how these dots have connected. I didn't start with a startup, and we can get into pros and cons of that later. But I am from Delhi, born and brought up here, studied at Cambridge, went to university, did economics. Started a family business, but we realized that, our family business didn't have the right manpower. And that actually led to my first company, Safe Educate, where we were doing this in a brick and mortar way. Fun things about me, I love boxing, so be careful. My husband is, and I've recently been trying my hand at jiu-jitsu, and injured my shoulder. But I love trying new things.
Awesome. That last thing was both fun and scary. Okay, and last, I'll come to you, Sonali. I'll pass the mic to you to quickly introduce yourself.
Thanks, Dilnawaz. It's an honor to be part of such an illustrious panel. I mean, I've seen Divya's journey, known her for a long time. Chandni, I run a school, so I know many of my parents use your company. And Vandana, I mean, absolutely commendable on what you've done so far. I've had a relatively simpler journey. Born and brought up in Delhi, belonged to a business family, so business was discussed at a very, very young age. I did my schooling from CJM, went to Shriram College of Commerce, and then I did my master's at INSEAD. I've been somewhat of a serial entrepreneur. My first business was called Mix and Match. I think I was in college and we started a business where, with one of my closest friends, we did stationery. So we did personalized stationery, corporate gifting. It hadn't got structured at that point of time. And, we were pretty much running I don't think at that point of time we knew how to scale up a business. We didn't have the correct skill set. So, we shut it down. My second company, my family's into textiles also, so I was thrown into a business. My father took me to Heim Textile, got me my first order, and said, "Okay, run with it." I started a company called Home Essentials, where we manufactured home furnishings. So I did quilts, table linen, curtains, etc. I had close to about 1,000 people working for me. My factory is in Greater Noida, and some of my buyers included Zara Home, Macy's, John Lewis. And then 2009 happened where the subprime prices happened, and a lot of my buyers were catalog buyers, so we had to shut shop. And then went through a little bit of a low phase in my life, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, join the family business. But I think when you're an entrepreneur, you're used to being your own boss. So then I started a company called Playful Minds Enrichment Limited. I strongly believe that the brain development of a child happens between the age of 0 to 5 years, and unfortunately, India, because we have no barriers to entry for early child education, we have all sorts of places calling themselves preschools and running with it. So I would call this my passion project. I had two schools pre-COVID, but we're down to one, and the idea is to actually take it pan India. Dilnawaz, back to you.
Thank you so much. So, such a interesting panel. We have educators, we have serial entrepreneurs, we have technology folks, we have product folks, Sukoya funded VC startups. Awesome. I'm sure the conversation is going to be very interesting. So, let me jump onto the question number one. And because all of you are very, very experienced folks and you have been doing business for a couple of years, how do you see the change happening in the Indian startup ecosystem? If you can give me an overview of the decade when you started uh, till date, what's the change like? Your comments, your thoughts on it, uh, and maybe if you can keep this perspective from a general entrepreneur's point of view, and you can talk about you know uh, team funding, different aspects of being an entrepreneur. So how do you see the ecosystem right now, how it has changed over past 10 years, and then you can if you can talk about how in general government support and stuff like Shark Tank also happened during this phase. So your general observation, comments on how do you see the ecosystem as of right now, and what do you predict going forward? So general comments, a very open-ended question. I want your thoughts on the topic. Vanda, again, we'll go in the same order. If you want to, somebody want to jump in right in the beginning, feel free. So Vanda, I'll pass it to you, and then feel free to jump in. Yeah.
Right. So more than 100 unicorns. I think the definition of unicorn needs to be changed, right? It's like present everywhere right now. What I feel of last few years, especially, has seen a very big change in terms of the funding available and the funders also available, be it the PE funds, the VCs, the family offices, the individuals getting together and creating funds. And on the startup side also, the idea is more open. There's a lot of diversity we see there in terms of gender also, in terms of social acceptability. I mean, at our time, it used to be, I'm old enough to say it, like my times and stuff. So it used to be entrepreneurship used to be, limited. Now it is, the idea is acceptable. People want to work in startups. People want to risk up their jobs to, there. So that is the kind of change that I have seen. Also, with funding available, with a lot of mentorship available, I also see that for founders also it is relatively easier. When I had issues and while I starting up, or while I had issues, I could not see any. I could not see up to anyone. I could not go to anyone and ask for mentorship or for funding. Of course, I had my tough times, but what I see now is these things are readily available, and of course, with this, more exposure, more education, more internet availability, it is also easier. So the whole ecosystem has really shaped up to make it easier for everyone at the investment side and as well as the company side. I also started doing some angel funding a few years back, and I see a lot of interesting ideas from. So this is also something very different. We used to always think, in the box. We used to always have those conventional ideas where we would think of. Currently, there are like plethora of ideas, interesting and crazy ideas, and it's really good fun to see people coming out. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I think angel investing should go as the first thing when you introduce yourself, because most of the user
Okay,
most
sure.
of the people who are going to watch us today are going to be students, and they're always looking for angel investors. So what I'll do is, with all your permission, I'll also put your LinkedIn bio in the description below, and I'm sure you'll be reached out by some of the folks
Sure.
for seeking funding. So do mention that if you actively invest. I think that's something everybody eyes for, so do mention. Channel, come to you for your comments onto this question.
So startup has become a very exciting place to be in right now. India has become the third largest startup ecosystem just after US and China now. So and it's the fastest growing one. So it's a very exciting space to be in, and I feel that Indian startups will somewhere guide the future of the Indian economy as well. So it's a very important aspect. And as you said, to compare it uh, by a decade ago, so I'm very new to this, Dilnawaz. I've just launched about 5 years ago. But what I have experienced is that within these 5 years, also times have changed. There's more acceptability now. People accept women entrepreneurs as, I mean, equally as a male entrepreneur would be accepted in the society now, and the support is there, the funding is readily available, and I feel like everything is readily available now. And as for the future of the startup ecosystem, I feel there are little hiccups right now with the layoffs happening and with the valuations going down. But I feel another 12, 18 months, a new normal will be formed. And then again, the upward journey should start from there. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. Divya, I'll come to you now.
Um, okay, so I'm a little bit old school, but you know, हमारे time में, like, okay, I will say हमारे time, but 15 years back, 15 साल बाद, when we used to have free time, we guys used to make friendship bands. We guys used to spend our time making plays or going for movies. I feel like youngsters today do that, like create startups. So, you know, kudos to them. We have a lot to learn. I genuinely feel this whole like landscape has, you know, transformed completely. 15 years back when we were starting out, when I was starting out, the idea, I remember everyone around me, in terms of when I was at college, when I came back from Cambridge, the only thing that you wanted to do was, you know, get a job in consulting or banking or finance, which still is pretty cool. But you know, the idea of starting up was definitely not something in anyone's minds or heads, or even acceptable as an idea. So it makes me incredibly happy to see that change today. And I guess social media has definitely done that for us because you suddenly have access to market. So when I started up, like the only way that you could reach a student would be to put an ad in a newspaper, which would cost, you know, a considerable down payment or investment. You had to have physical classroom. So I think what's beautiful about today is this access to markets at a very small scale. So even if you're, say, making friendship bands, you can actually be selling them. And I know this amazing entrepreneur who's actually making these beautiful beaded necklaces and bracelets, and she's doing sales of about 7.5 lakhs a month. So, you know, kudos to this new environment, and this new generation who's actually willing to try and start off. And it's a great step in the right direction. What I would look for more is more women. We're still a minority. And I think giving the right incentives for this ecosystem to grow for both male and female is great. And I think there's a lot of there's a lot of flux right now. अगर आप LinkedIn में जाओगे ना, if you look on LinkedIn, you know, the in terms of the job profile, your designation, the most used designation is founder. So at some point, I feel like we probably need to go through a system of flux, where it's not just about being cool and the good thing to do, but actually about creating value for the ecosystem. And I do hope this generation will get there and disrupt and create more and more value.
So the only takeaway I have is I think our generation was buying friendship bands and the next generation now is selling it. I think
Selling
that's
that,
that
making
the tables have turned, huh?
yeah, and making an incredibly scalable business. So if
Exactly.
only, yeah, if only Sonali had started mix and match now.
If Shah Rukh Khan would have taught her how not to give away the bands and rather sell them, I think more entrepreneurs would have been there. But okay, jokes apart.
Exactly.
Sonali, your take on this one.
Dilnawaz, the first thing that I'm very happy to say is that I'm actually proud of saying that you guys and our generation. I mean, I think till about 5 years back, I wouldn't have wanted to accept my age, but seeing the kind of stuff these kids are doing, I mean, hats off to them. So I think last year there were about 44 unicorns, and I think already in the last 7 months there have been 20 unicorns. So I think the only way is up. We've received about close to $900 million in funding in just August 2022. So I think in terms of if I compare the landscape from now to say 10 years back, I think two words come to my mind: mobility and accessibility. And I think we did not have access to capital. I think even in terms of mobility, in terms of digital, there wasn't there. And I think now with both issues being solved, Like Divya said, it's very easy to get to market. It's very easy to, sort of launch an idea with not much capital investment, because I think, the days of pure brick and mortar, their business existing, which are, based on services and just not brick and mortar manufacturing. I think even if you see investment that's happened, a lot of investments happen in edtech, a lot of investment has happened. And, if you look at even things like Nika and stuff, I mean, the whole thing is that the online marketplace has got a life of its own, enablers. And just with that, you're not really looking at manufacturing, but you're looking at aggregating, and just the possibilities of that have become huge. And I think the generation today is willing to take a chance. They're willing to take a risk. They're ready to live for the now and not for the future. I think, which is a huge transgression from how we were raised, and how our thought process was. So I think we've got exciting times ahead. There will be a little bit of cleanup, but we've got exciting times ahead with the generation for entrepreneurs. The only thing that I'm very passionate about saying is that I think, we talk about male entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs, and I think entrepreneurs is genderless. Why are we typecasting and calling them male or female? And I'll leave it to you at that.
No, no, I definitely agree with that. And in fact, this was before even we were planning this panel, this was the internal contemplation we had. I was in conversation with the organizer, and we like, should we call it role of entrepreneurs in growing economy? Should we call it role of women entrepreneurs? And then we narrowed down onto this title with everybody's permission. But I still had my own, my own, I had my own red flags whether we should keep it this way or that way. But I definitely agree. It's genderless, definitely. Also, one very interesting thing, Sonali, you mentioned was about Nike, and in fact, that is what my next question is. But before I jump on to my next question, we have around 10 or 15 people watching us live right now. Two quick things for everybody in the audience, folks. First of all, this session is brought to you by AO Delhi and the conversations around entrepreneurship, but we are also trying to promote GSEA, which is a student only competition. If you're a student or know somebody who's a part of a student startup, please make sure you apply for the program. The application link is in the live chat. It's been on the top. Remember that. Number two, the panelists are here for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes more till the time I exhaust and finish all my questions. If any of you have any questions from our panelists, please make sure you put that in the live chat again. I'll be more than happy to pick a few questions from your side for our panelists. All right. Okay. So continuing the conversation, Sonali, I want to stick with you on this one. So past 10 years have also been very exciting from the point of view of women-led companies being created. We have success stories like Nykaa doing one of the largest IPOs, then Sugar Cosmetics by Vinita, Ghazal Alag creating Mama Earth, and then we have rockstar women entrepreneurs. And yes, the boundary has really become very very small or very thin between, like, saying a woman entrepreneur, a male entrepreneur. In fact, I work with a lot of VCs both in India and international, and there are a lot of VCs who also support minorities, black women. They want to bring in more inclusion and all of those things. So, what's your take? What's your comment on this? Built up of an ecosystem to support women more, and how do you also see women-led businesses now coming up? So, what's your take on that? Any comments, any observations on the ecosystem around women VCs? What's your take on that one? And I'll stick with this question, and then we can go in the circle. But Sonali, I'll come to you on this one
Yeah.
first.
So I think it's definitely become more inclusive. I think also with COVID and with the number of businesses that started from home, and we realized that we can actually run businesses and do things by sitting at home. We don't really need to go to a physical office. I think it's changed the mindsets of a lot of people, and they're willing to. They're willing to take. They're willing to launch businesses. They're willing to take a chance. They're willing to explore. I think women are becoming. I would say the two challenges that you face are societal, and women have less access to networks as men do. But I think with more organizations, especially like EO getting more inclusive, like I sit on the board for EO, I'm the only girl sitting on the board, and I think that itself is a change. I think equal opportunity is being provided. A lot of ideas that stem up and are doing well are basically ideas that come up from women entrepreneurs because they know the pain points that women have, and that actually gives rise to a lot of successful business ideas. So I think with with support from family and with support from in an infrastructure where we do reduce maybe thresholds, or we reduce we reduce some conditions for women, there would definitely be an opportunity for more and more women entrepreneurs to come to the surface.
Awesome. Divya, your take on this one?
Dilnawaz, a lot of people have asked me that, and the same point that Sonali said, like women versus men. Like, do you really need to be called a woman entrepreneur? Like, what is the need? I mean, we're the same. The work is the same. It is essentially genderless. So why are we being classified separately? Uh, I also went to a lot of the younger lot at SICO. We work with a lot of students, a lot of 20-year-olds, a lot of entrepreneurs who are probably listening to us right now. And I asked them, I was like, do you think women need special treatment? And a lot of the younger girls, like the 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, they're like, we don't really think so. We don't really see the need for it. We've got adequate opportunity. So I would say that the landscape has changed dramatically in the past decade. I think a decade back, this wasn't true. So traditionally, men and women in India have had very, segregated roles. The women were the caretakers; they were the ones who would give up their careers for raising a family, taking care of the kids, taking care of the parents. And to be honest, it still happens today. So should there be a segregation for women entrepreneur? Um, yes, we probably wouldn't have had a panel of 5 women if you hadn't put that woman entrepreneur tag to this panels. And it's amazing that Sonali is on the board. But traditionally we've not had representation. So if we can give a tag and get a little bit of extra treatment, I'm all for it. Having said that, I think technology per se has definitely changed my life. I'm sitting at home right now and doing this panel. So, and that's just the ease of technology. It would have been hard for me to be in office till 7, when my kids are home. So I think technology has allowed for this beautiful ecosystem, which is very transient, which allows for movement, which allows you to be doing PTAs, doing investor meetings, and living this 360-degree life. So, it's a huge change. I think all of us need to embrace it. Investors definitely have been really pro. We have impact investing funds. I have lots of funds that we've spoken to, which are women-only funds, some of which who actually support us at SICO. And I'm all for all the support that we can get. So, do we need it? It's not really a crutch. But if it's fuel for our engines, then why not? Fill her up and let this rocket ship get off the ground.
Awesome. I just want to add one or two quick points onto what on the things you said. Number one is definitely you said like, would women have been here if you would have not added the word. Last week I did a panel of 3 women without the word woman in it. So the topic was role of entrepreneurs in growing Indian economy, and it was hosted and moderated and all women panel. It was a rock star panel. So
So,
yeah, and that's the reason I was saying we were still contemplating, should we add the word woman or not. And yeah, we decided to put it, but I definitely agree. And then yes, technology has bring in a lot of inclusion, but I think one important thing, and at least this is what I believe, we wanted to definitely highlight the word woman also, because uh, at the place where all of you are a great source of inspiration for younger folks, right? I work with a lot of schools, and not schools typically, but colleges, and very very young folks in their early 20s and late teens. And uh, if you look at that level, like the bottom of the pyramid, if there are 99% boys trying to build a startup and do something and build a product and get into robotics and code, there'll hardly be one or two girls trying to even take that leap of faith, right? So I'm pretty sure you all will act as a great role model, and I think this panel will at least give them the confidence that if they hear from the horse's mouth directly, they're going to get that confidence. So thank you so much for sharing all those stories as well. Chandni, I'll come to you for your comments now.
So, we are a population of 1.4 billion. So, if even we are in 48% are women. So, if we can convince and make sure that the 48% women are working, the economy could just shoot, like, there's no limit then. So when you say women have to be pushed a little, I feel that we have to push them because we are sitting at a little more entitled place right now because we've experienced our journeys. But for the girls who are just starting, maybe they don't have that much of family support. The family wants them to go for more safer jobs. So that's where they need to see, and that's where they need to learn that entrepreneurship is not as it used to be 10 years back. Now there's a lot of support, there's great importance, and there's more attention being given to us right now. According to McKinsey, I was reading a report. If the woman can be pushed to entrepreneurship and other aspects of working, our economy could move up by $1 trillion. And that's, I feel, a great thing which should happen, and we should encourage more women to work.
Awesome. And I'll come to Vanna for your take on this one.
Yeah. So women overall, I believe सब women में कहीं ना कहीं entrepreneurship होती है. I remember my mom, and I think everybody's mom used to save money or whatever they were given, and they would save money and sort of invest in anything, be it clothes, be it jewelry, be it any this thing. So that is sort of instilled in us. Of course, demonetization के time पे सब कुछ everything was visible. But having said that, in the the normal terminology of the entrepreneurship, yes, the representation is very less. Uh, but this is also a projection of generally what happens. I mean, we have a regulation that I mean, the companies should have director as women, but nahi ho pata hai. So that is a representation there. But definitely with the whatever Faguni has been able to do, she's set up new benchmarks. So now the new role models there. Of course, the ecosystem is changing, as everybody shared that the internet and the exposure is increasing. So that would definitely add to the overall ecosystem and make it easier. The startups itself are more on technology based. They are not brick and mortar or field based. So that also helps in women taking up things. And then entrepreneurship is also not about creating a big bang thing. We could start as small as something like Divya was sharing, selling bracelets, maybe through social media. So all this changing ecosystem will definitely help get there, and with more role models there, as Dilnawaz, you were also mentioning, with what again is required are more role models in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of angel funds, in terms of mentors. So I think with this kind of thing, we should soon catch up.
Sure. So I just want to also keep on keep the momentum going on, and I would just want to add on question, because support system is very very important for any kind of a startup. It's an ecosystem that nurtures a business or a company, right? Uh, how do you see ecosystem now, especially from the funding point of view, especially from the VC point of view? Because I was just reading some report a couple of days back, and it says that Silicon Valley VC ecosystem is going back to be a bro culture, right? And it has always been there, and then it kind of was becoming more inclusive, but again it's becoming, and that's evident, right? So there are few things which we have to take on the face value. We can't decline them. So your comment on the general ecosystem, because next question that I'm going to come to you is going to be on challenges, because definitely there are certain challenges that women face in general over a man, and there are certain advantages we as men have, definitely, time restriction for that matter, right? Or maybe traveling to another city. Your parents, if you're a boy, your parents will not ask you, let us say, they'll ask you 5 questions, but for a woman it becomes 50, right? So especially when you're trying to build your own business, it's tough. So your take on the ecosystem, your take on especially the VC and the funding ecosystem, because access to capital is a very very critical aspect. So your take. When I'll want to continue with you, and then we can go back in the circle again. So when I'll pass it to you.
Right, right. So I haven't seen much of the VC part, so would not be really able to comment on the VC or thing. But yes, I have seen angel funding for last 2 3 years, and definitely I see a lot of acceptance where the investors are, they are not really. Of course, they want to know their ROIs and all, but still they are eager to place their investment on the idea and the team and the way they are planning to do the implementation. At our times, of course, funding wasn't available, and even if we had to do, there were a lot of things we had to explain and stuff. So this is one of the important thing that I have seen, and I have seen people investing on some really crazy idea. One of Unfortunately, what again, I have not seen are many women founders coming for funding. I have invested in one of those. Only one I know out of my portfolio of I think seven or eight. Um, that is my biggest ticket size, and I really see her very aggressive and very assertive on things. It's a technology based startup. So the ecosystem that way is in the thought process I have seen changing. Me myself, now shifting to angel funding, not shifting, I mean taking it along. Also, what I have seen, the challenges that I have faced, so I also want to sort of help. So that also is sort of adds to the value to the startup. And then the mentorship, that again, I was also pointing it out earlier, that the kind of mentorship, that the kind of involvement that investor now wants or gives is also does help the startup people, because generally they start up very early. They don't have that kind of experience where the network is important, where the financing is important, let's say, where the business development is important, or the whole setting up of is important, where they can get a lot of things. So I think that kind of ecosystem where it enables companies to actually grow. Another important thing, what I really want to point out is the difference that I'm seeing in this year. We have been seeing where startups were only focusing on the the GMVs and the turnovers. I see a slight shift on the profitability, on the EBITDA, where the startups are being questioned and challenged on the governance, importantly. So overall, I think some kind of consolidation happening with a lot of positive support to startups to take them along, but with those controls is what I see the change happening, which is I think for good.
Awesome. Chandni, your take on this one.
So I haven't personally gone for a round of funding yet, but maybe in near future I would. But I'm seeing a difference now. Of course, like I have spoken to a lot of people who have approached me, so I don't see a gender bias there as such. It's just our personal choice that we don't want to go for funding at present. But somewhere, what I feel is missing from the woman or entrepreneur's life is the access to communities, inner circles, and the right advisors. Somewhere, because we are so busy with our gender roles and everything, we don't get access to that type of communication with our peers. And only 5% of women join entrepreneurship, so you can imagine the total number of women who are there and whom we can get access to. So that is one shortcoming I feel which is there. Other than that, I feel it's a level playground now, and funding is equally accessible to men or women.
Awesome. Divya, your take on this one. You are a funded company by Sequoia Search, right? I think you will have some interesting takes on this one.
So yeah, I think you made a comment which said, there's a bro culture, or there's the perception of a bro culture. So here's the basic thing, and I would like to say this for all the students who are out there, for all the investors. I'm an investor. I mean, and I think Vandana will maybe talk about that more. Um, Investing is not charity. This is not social work. This is not. You're not donating money. It's a business that you're funding. So as a VC, what they're looking for is, does this idea make sense? Does this team make sense? Or does this founder, can they do what they are saying that they will? So I think in terms of the ecosystem is definitely understanding that women, and if you look at it, and Sonali pointed this out earlier, is a lot of the women unicorns that you see, women founders of unicorns, they're the ones who've created products for women. They created a mama earth because you realize the need for products for kids. Chandni has made little tags because she realizes the pain point of a new mom trying to dress up her child. And we started with this: half our population is women, and they are consumers, and they are actually becoming more and more the makers of really massive purchase decisions. So as anyone who is an entrepreneur, and especially as women who want to be and anyone actually, you want to play to your strength. What are you the best at? There's no point doing something just because. So if you're a woman and you understand problems that women, or if you're a teenager and who understands the mental health issues of a teenage girl, you are really the best place to do a startup on mental health. So I think the first thing that I'm going to say is identify your strengths. What is it that you bring to the table that Divya would have absolutely zero idea about? Right? She would have absolutely zero idea about what are the kind of apps or programs that a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old would want to make. And the more you get into the details of it and specialize on that, you're able to attract the right funding. And in terms of the ecosystem, I see more and more access. And of course, you just need to reach out to these networks. Sequoia, for example, has a fund, it's called Spark, that is only for women funders. Niti Aayog has a platform called WEP, which brings together all these beautiful schemes of women. There are loans that are only for women startups. So I think there is a huge ecosystem, and there is a bro culture. And of course, there's a feeling of trust that you need to have. So as young entrepreneurs, what I would do is create credibility. And you can create that credibility by being active on LinkedIn, by doing smaller projects, by working with established entrepreneurs. And if you can show that credibility, I think there is a lot of access. And ultimately, I think it's all about economics and making sure that idea makes sense and you're able to give the returns to the investors. And as long as that's your north star, and the north star of entrepreneurs and investors, I think we're in a space for to make this ecosystem grow.
Awesome. Pretty interesting points. In fact, quickly to plug in a few resources. For example, I was in AM Nagpur a couple of days ago, and they have a women-only program. They run a program for women entrepreneurship. Similar program is run by IIM Bangalore for NSRCEL, and then there are women-only funds available now. So I think there are enough resources. And you pointed out a very correct thing that until unless you are unable to point out or figure out a right problem statement, like a burning problem, it becomes difficult. So great points. Sonali, your take.
So, I'm going to take it from where Divya left it. I would like to add that, the generation today is very in tune with their needs. And I think, they're the best to design products for themselves. It's a growing generation. And, like we discussed Mama Earth and we discussed Nika. Similarly, mental health. If this generation can identify what their pain points are, design products for it, show scalability and profitability, the ecosystems there for them to take. I also feel that with technology being a key enabler, I think this is also going to change the landscape in tier 2 cities. I think at this point of time you only see unicorns and businesses coming out of the 5 metros. So I think in the next few years there will be a change in the ecosystem where we'll see more participation from V towns. I can't comment much on the VC and this thing because ours is a family-run business, but we do also do angel investing and we invest in startups. And when I studied at INSEAD, also the basic thing that we were taught was there were some very interesting startups out of INSEAD. The main thing that we were taught was that it's the idea, it's a team, and it's how well you can work collaboratively, how well you can think together, and how well you can execute. The rest is all going to fall in place. So you have to believe in what you're doing. It has to be able to solve a need, and it has to have show scalability. And I think then, there are more than enough people who be takers or be willing to invest in your business.
Awesome. So, my second last question to you would be again a continuation of the conversation. We still have, by the way, a few questions from audience members and folks. If you're still watching this, please make sure to drop your questions. I have one or two questions left, and then I'll ask the panelists to pick up the questions from the live chat. So, if you're here, and I'm sure you are taking away a lot of interesting, learnings from here. pretty interesting and exciting conversations happening. Put your questions in the chat. We'll be more than happy to answer those. So can you also talk about one of the biggest challenge that you faced while starting up your journey, and also how you solved it? Because I want it to be like a success story that I want to leave for my audience members and my viewers. So one big challenge that you faced while you were building your own company, and then how you solved it. Uh, I think you have all of you have partially answered my part two of this question, which is inclusion and men, women, all of this. But do you also think that that challenge happened because it was a woman uh, led business, or just because you were an entrepreneur? So your perspective on challenges as well that women face in general, that we were trying to speak about. So one challenge, solution to it, and then your perspective on the men women challenge scenario. One, I'll come to you on this one first.
Okay. So we started in 2008, actually got registered in 2008, and 2009 was the operations when we started. Um, we started with IT soft in the doing services in software, where we used to develop customized softwares for the government of India. But the plan was that, but somehow my co-founder had other plans, and we thought that we would add more businesses to it, which was very enterprising. So we added after sales services, and then we added telecom, we added repairs to it, we added distribution to it. So within a span of 2 to 3 years, we wanted to do a lot of things. Of course, we both were from middle class, and we had big dreams. But what we did not have was the experience to scale up, the company. And within for that, because of that, in 2011, we realized that we don't have the money to move further, and my partner wanted to close down the business. It was very bad, in the sense we were not even able to pay salaries, but we had, we had money to pay to people, because we just, since we could not pay, so we kept on delaying it. So then I finally decided to take it up, and he decided to move out of the business. And that was 1 year of living in a hell, because there were people who were following up with me for their money. There were employees who were following up with me for the salaries. There was government department who was following up with me for their money, and I had to cut down on a lot of things. So the way, so 2012 I took over in the whole, and then I had to start and doing cost cutting. We shut down. So in 2008 we started. In 2011 we were around 800 people. So that was the kind of scale that we built up. But then I had to cut down. So 2012 we came back to 150 people. We closed down many offices. We had to really spend each and every penny that we were getting while we were working. uh, I had also that maintain a trust and motivation to the team that was left with me, because I needed them badly. Though they were really supporting, they were still working with me. Besides that, they were getting their salaries delayed, and they knew they would get their salaries delayed. They would not get it in time, so they already knew it. But the kind of transparency I had with them, so whenever we used to get some money from a client, we used to sit together and decide, okay, this person needs more money this time, so let us give it to him. So this was the kind of operations we had to do. We had to follow up for our money, which was stuck with few companies. So, and the interesting thing we did was we still invested in one creative idea, so that, because whatever we were doing was not giving us profits. So that bet played for us, and the kind of effort and the hard work. I mean, I think I was just getting up, working, and I was just going home to sleep, like kind of 18 hours every day. But the culture that we built up of transparency, of trust, and the systems that we brought up again. We decided we'll never take loans. We will work according to the kind of money that we have. Of course, we will grow, and we will also keep on pivoting. In Because that is also required to grow yours, to scale up your business. So that is where we are. From 2012, we were in negative to 2022, where we did 2021, sorry, 21-22, where we are 135 CR, 500 plus people, and doing all the businesses that we had. So yeah, that is what I can share about my um, the challenge and how I solved it. About being a woman, yes, it becomes difficult. Though we have this popular belief कि लड़की होने से फायदा होता है, but ऐसा नहीं है. um, I still remember when I had to go to government offices, I used to dress up very conservatively, because I had to deal with a person sitting outside, the guard, to the senior people. And so you even have to dress up according to the environment that you are going on. Then of course, getting the trust of the or respect of the team also becomes tough. You have to really prove yourself, maybe double, if not double, then more than what men would do. Because for them, if you're in a position, it comes automatically. But as a woman, even if you are the CEO, you need to do certain things. Same goes with the clients. I mean, of course, I have faced it. Initially, my co-founder was a male, so I have faced it. You go to a client and they will just keep talking to them. You are sort of ignored. You take it in your stride, but definitely you have to be a little more assertive. You have to prove yourself a little more to be seen there. Having said that, I have had very good experience with all my male colleagues, all my male clients. So nothing there, but somehow it is sort of unconscious thing that we do. That is what I believe in. So somewhere there is it is there. So that is all I have to say.
Awesome. Very interesting points. Chandni, I'll pass it to you.
So for me, the challenges have been very different from what Vandana's faced. Initially, when I told my family that I want to start this business, so none of the women in my family have worked before that. So I was the first one and who was wanting to start the business right when my daughter was 6 months. So first, the pressure to stick to the traditional gender roles was there, and then I feel I wasn't taken seriously. They thought it's just a hobby, and she'll do it for 1 year, 1.5 years, and then just shut it. So to convince them that I was passionate about this and I really wanted to do this was the biggest challenge. And then once I crossed that hurdle, once they saw a little success coming, of course they after that they were really appreciative, and I had all the support from them. Then came the challenge of maintaining a work and life balance. I have two little kids right now, one is 6, one is 2. So it's very, I have to take them to school, I have to make them do their homework, and I have to do my work as well. And then there's family commitments and everything. So for me, the biggest challenge after that has been to maintain a work life balance. And apart from that, one last thing what I feel is lacking for me is the lack of mentorship. Like my husband can talk to his father anytime he feels there's an issue. But for me, since I'm the first generation of working woman in the family, I lack that kind of mentorship and support, I feel. And but as we progress, as we see some success, of course things are changing now. And with age, I feel I'm also settling down a lot more now.
Awesome. Interesting perspective. Divya, I'll pass it to you.
Wow, it's hard to just figure out one challenge. So I'll start. I mean, the family, my husband runs a business in logistics. So essentially, when I started off, like Chandni, when I started off, it was just, I was probably the first woman in the family who's working in the family business, which was logistics, and that was kind of unheard of. What will a woman do in logistics is often a question that that people ask. My mother-in-law had actually never been to office before that. But the most amazing thing was that she was actually, and she still is, one of my biggest cheerleaders. So just because something has been a particular way doesn't mean it is. In terms of challenges, my first company where we set up centers, when we came in, I realized there's a need for logistics manpower, and I set up these centers. We set up a network of about 150 centers across the country where we were training these young girls and boys in logistics. So I think the first challenge was scaling up that quickly. managing that scale and managing the kind of outstandings that we had from government. As someone who's young, as someone who's trying to prove herself, and say that, hey, I need that seat on the table, we often sort of take that uh, without a pinch of salt, and we want to prove ourselves very quickly. So I think the biggest challenge was scaling literally from 5 centers to 55 in a span of year and a half. And if I look back, I could have taken more time, and I didn't because I was in a hurry. So I think that really was the biggest challenge in that space. During COVID, our centers actually shut down for a year and for the a year and a half. And that was also traumatic, because this is something that I built up over a 10-year period, and it didn't exist anymore. And that's the time actually I met my co-founders and started this platform called Seco. So in terms of challenges, I think we need to be careful, and then and that challenge actually led me to really grow Seco, which of course has been a crazy ride, because we're trying to solve for edtech, which again is something that how much is education really possible online. And I think that's something we're still figuring out, and we pivot, not really pivot, but I think we're constantly reworking on that business model. Would these problems have been there, or these challenges have been there, if I was not a woman? I don't think so. I think every entrepreneur goes through it. But I think very often when you are a woman, you're pushing yourself a little bit more. You may be trying to prove yourself a little bit more, and you're trying to juggle things a little bit more than you necessarily need to. It's okay to stop. It's okay. I mean, in terms of work-life balance, it's okay to ask your partner to be an equal, and be there to take care of the family and the kids. But we often kind of don't do that. And I think that's something I would love for us to educate, the girls and the women around us, and the men actually.
Awesome. Great take. Thank you. Sonali, I'll come to you.
So I think entrepreneurship is a very lonely and tough journey. At the end of the day, when you're a leader or a founder, the decisions have to be yours to take for good or for bad. So I think in terms of challenges, my first large startup was Mix and Match when I was doing home furnishings. And I don't know why we're sort of taught, or we think that, manufacturing is a man's business. So again, with a lot of encouragement from the family, I got my first order, set up the factory. And then, when business started growing and more orders started coming in, it used to become, Delhi's a dry port, so we had to send shipments to Bombay. And I used to come back home at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and to the point that one day my parents just said, "Ki bas ho gaya." And it's strange how they're very encouraging when they think that it's a hobby, but when they realize it's a full-time business, it's not fun. I mean, I'm going to share an incident that happened that. At one point of time in the factory, we had an urgent shipment going out, and we'd lost thousands of meters of fabric, and nobody knew where it was. And you eventually, when you're in manufacturing, and when you want to, get want yourself to be heard or seen, you need to unfortunately start acting like one of them. And I said, where the hell are we going to find it? Is my father going to come and look for it? And there I saw my father walking up the stairs, and he looked at me and he said, "Sonali, in your cabin now." And at that point I said, you know what, this is my business, and let me deal with it the way I need to, and we'll deal with whatever you need to say to me at home. So I think that segregating my workspace from my home space was a challenge, which it was a situation which happened, which was very, very important at that point of time, because I think, especially when you're in family businesses, and, when the men in your family think that you're doing it as a hobby, and when it actually becomes big, to, to show that you are serious about it and get the respect of your people as well as your family, it's important to stick to your guns. So I think that was a big challenge that we faced, in a manufacturing business, being the only woman on the factory floor for 500 people. Family was concerned in terms of safety, security, and rightfully so in those times, because I was in the back of Beyond. I think in terms of playful minds, I think the challenge I faced was similar to what Divya faced when I work with children 3, 3.5, and under. And when school shut and we were in the process of expanding, we just, ready to open up a second school. Suddenly COVID hit, and for us to, pivot from offline to online, and sort of design content and duration of classes which would have the attention of children, I think was the biggest challenge. So there was a lot of hit and trial. But what was even more challenging was that your teachers had to open up their homes, and it was almost like a theater production, because it's very different from what happens in classrooms, and it's very different when you're on the screen and the parent is sitting next to your child and observing everything. So I think we had to pivot really, really quickly and effectively. And I think, we did a really good job at it. So I think that would be one of the challenges that we did. How we achieved it or how we overcame it was by a lot of brainstorming and, collaboration. And I think everybody on the team contributed. So I think one of the learnings is that, everybody has ideas as good as yours. So when you work collaboratively, you'll be able to solve problems.
Awesome. Great insights, great inputs. Thank you, everyone. Uh, Last two questions I have, and I'll quickly do them popcorn style. We'll quickly pick up one question from the chat, and I want to do it like, in a popcorn style. The question is how to set up our business, how to take first step towards building setup from idea thinking to action. So, what is the first step to take your idea into execution? So, we'll do popcorn style. Anybody who would like to jump in first?
Just do it. Don't think.
Okay. Uh,
Because the minute you start thinking, you'll have 100 things which don't work, other things. So just do it and learn from it.
okay. Any other comments? Divya, your one liner on this one?
Bias to action. Just do a small pilot. Do it with friends and family. Be completely, selfless, like shameless. Your first customers are always like my first customers always been my husband for everything, and charge them money for it.
Awesome. Chandni, you want to add something?
As rightly said, the more you think, the more you plan, the more setbacks you might just anticipate, which won't even happen when you start. So just start with a pilot project and go for it.
Awesome. And Vandana, your take.
Do some research on what exactly the problem you're trying to solve, because finally the organization has to solve some problem, that your idea has to solve some problem. Discuss it with your well-wishers, discuss it with some business people that you can get hold of. And then finally, if you still you listen to others, but do what you trust on, and just do it.
Awesome. And with that, we are at the end of the conversation. I don't see any other uh, questions in the chat. So, one last closing piece of advice from all of your side. We'll quickly go in the circular order. Vanna, I want you to go first. One closing piece of advice for the folks who are going to watch this, entrepreneurs who are going to watch this. What's that one piece of advice you want to leave them with?
Yeah. Alternative. And as I said, listen to others, trust your instincts, and just do it.
Chandni, your take on this one.
I feel for the entrepreneurs, do not hesitate to start small, but don't be afraid to think big.
Okay, awesome. Divya.
Look at creating value, figure out a problem that you want to solve, and then just go and change the world.
Awesome. Sonali.
Take your chances. It's now or never.
Awesome. Fantastic. So, with that, we are at the end of the session. Thanks to all of you for doing this phenomenal session. I'm sure you all enjoyed the conversation as well. Let me quickly talk about the GFE once again, and then we'll officially wrap. So, folks, I hope all of you enjoyed the conversation, and this conversation was brought to you by EO New Delhi for promoting GSEA, which is Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards. It's a premium global student competition for students who are currently in the college, who own and operate a business while studying in college and a university. GSEA supports student entrepreneurship with entrepreneurs with mentoring, recognition, connections to their business, funding, so that they can take their business to the next level. If you're somebody who's in a college studying right now, or somebody who's a student entrepreneur, please ask them to apply for the program. It's absolutely free. The link is pinned in the live chat, and after the session I'll also put the link in the description below. What is in it for you? EO New Delhi is offering a cash prize of 2.5 lakhs for the winner and 1.5 lakhs for the runner-up. And other than that, there's a global cash prize of $1 lakh if you reach the global finals. There are additional awards for social impact, innovation, and other sessions as well. So I'm sure all of you will find this session valuable, this program valuable. So do help us spread the word. Share this video, like this video, share with your friends, share with all the amazing women you have in the network, so that this amazing fire panel can act as a source of inspiration for them, and this acts as a ladder for them to start up. I once again would like to thank all my speakers for today, Vandana, Chandni, Sonali, and Divya, for taking out time and being here. Thank you so much for being here and generously giving me your time. I'm Dilnawaz Khan, your host, signing off from this session, and I will see you soon in the next one. Thank you so much, everybody, and bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you so
great
much.
weekend.